want to explain to you the clarity grading system. We effectively have 11 grades. And they are broken down into subcategories. For instance, internally flawless has its own category. VVS1 and VVS2, the VVS stands for very, very small inclusions. 1 and 2 is another category. We then have the VS clarity grade category, very small inclusions, 1 and 2. We then have the SI clarity standing for slightly included, 1, 2, and 3. The last group of clarities is the included category, I1 to I3. And often you might find that this will be called P1, P2, P3, which is the European wording, which stands for PK1, PK2, PK3, where the I1, I2, and I3 is American terminology standing for included. Now, everybody says, well, how do you choose which grade? Let me explain to you how each grade is, and then we'll talk a bit about it. The scale is actually a mixture of absolute rules, and then depending how many, the position and the color of them will all affect your final choice. Internally flawless rule is the following. You cannot see anything through the pavilion of that stone or in the face-up position. In the stone, you may find minor surface blemishes on the outside. There's nothing physically in it. If there's something physically in it, it cannot be internally flawless. VVS1, very, very slightly included 1, you can only see the imperfection through the pavilion. It's very, very small. These are micron small things. You can only see through the pavilion. If you see it through face-up position, cannot have got VVS1 rule. VVS2, it's very, very, very small, but it can be seen in the face-up position. I've just put one little dot there to indicate to you that it's very, very small, but it's only one very small thing. Then we get to the VS grades, VS1 and VS2. What I've tried to demonstrate for you by putting a similar imperfection up near the star is put another one to indicate to you that we're getting slightly more. Very small inclusions 1 and very small inclusion 2. The 2 is obviously going to be slightly bigger than the 1. And at this point, you probably, if you're starting out now doing the practical, you probably wouldn't be able to see this grade right now, but you will. That I'm positive of. We then get to the SI grade, slightly included 1, 2, and 3. These are stones that, as you pick up and look through your loop, you will see these inclusions with relative ease. And obviously, the bigger they are and the more they are, so you would move down the grade. When it comes to the SI3, there is an issue that I need to explain to you. In 1994, EGL Worldwide introduced the SI3 grade to the world because there was sometimes, quite often in fact, stones that were not SI2 and not I1. They were in between. So EGL introduced the SI3 grade, which was universally accepted, but for 2 laboratories, one being the Gem Institute of America and the other being the Hochrat für Diamante, known as the HRD. And that situation still stands today. They didn't believe at that point that they would be able to quantify what an SI3 was. However, it is true that it's used by the rest of the world. It's listed both on the Rappaport and the IDEX pricing. So in real practical terms, it's a reality. When we come to the I1, I2, I3, included 1, 2, and 3, as soon as you take the stone out and look with your naked eye under the lamp, you will see the inclusion with your naked eye. As soon as you see it with your naked eye, you know it cannot be any of the other grades. The difference between an I1 and an I2 is that you might take the stone out, look at it and say to me, Alan, I can see the inclusion, but there are 2 of them, one opposite the other. They're not actually 2. What it is this one here is a reflection of the real inclusion, which I've marked there. Now, if those cover about 30% of the stone, we're going to call it I2. If it covers 40%, and the inclusion here reflecting across together cover about 40% of the stone, we're going to call it an I3. If it is worse than that, then we're going to call it a reject, and laboratories, for instance, will not grade that stone because they don't believe it to be a gem quality warranting a grade. I know that you're going to say to me, but how big's big and how small's small? As you go through it, you will soon begin to understand how big these actually are, and as we go up the scale, you'll find that you'll get better and better at identifying the smaller characteristics.